Hi, my name is Saad, and in this part of the video, I'll demonstrate my contributions to our website for project part 3. And what I contributed was a profile picture upload feature. The requirement was to allow users to update their profile picture by uploading an image from the computer. First, show how the feature works from the user's perspective, and then walk through the backend and front-end code that makes it work. So as you can see, I'm currently in the landing page of my profile, my website. And in the top right, I have a profile link, which takes me to the profile page. On this page, it shows the current profile picture at the top, so it will be right here. Underneath is a file input, where we upload the file, and then an upload button to submit the file. So as of right now, as you can see, there is no profile picture there. It will just stay empty until I upload an image. And once I click upload, it will update. So now let's upload the image. So if you click on choose file, it will take us to our web file browser, and we can select a PNG or a JPG file. And once we click upload, as you can see now, our profile picture is uploaded. I can refresh and it will stay there. This image is also saved on the server inside the public/uploads folder, so it persists across sessions. So if you go back to our VS Code, under the public folder, under uploads, our image gets automatically saved right here. Now let's walk through our code backend logic. So start off, under the user.js model, I implemented a new field called profile image. This field stores the file name of the upload image, not the image itself. So it's a simple string with a default empty value, and it gets populated when the user uploads a profile picture. Everything goes in the schema is from the original project, authentication setup, etc. So right here. Now if we move on to Motor.js. Motor.js is the Motor middleware that I use to handle the file uploading of the image profile picture feature. So if you look at profile.json, I had to download Motor in order to implement this feature. So in this folder, in this file, I created a separate configuration file motor.js. First, I configured a storage engine using motor.thisStorage right here. In the destination, I used the path.join public/uploads, so files are always saved into the public uploads folder, regardless of where the server is run from. In the file name, I prepend a date.now to the original file name so that the files are unique and don't overwrite each other. And for better restriction and smoothness, I added a file.filter, and this checks the MIME type of the uploaded file. Here, I only accept image/JPG files and PNG files. Anything else will be rejected with an error saying only JPG and PNG files are allowed. This protects the server from users uploading random or dangerous file types. Finally, I create the upload middleware using the Motor storage file filter and export it. This upload function is used in the user's route to process the incoming file. So just to quickly confirm that this file static middleware works, if you go to app.js, as you can see right here, we have this static middleware section right here, and this tells Express to serve everything inside the public says upload as a static files under the /uploads URL path. So if the file is saved as a public uploads slash, for example, 1234-4.jpg, I can reference it in the browser as /upload/1234-4.jpg. That's how the profile image can show the image using a simple image tag. And right here, so if you look at users router, this users is router is mounted as slash users, which is where my users dash profile and slash dot users that upload routes live. So this file line and this line right here. So now if you go to the users.js, here is where I wire everything together. So at the top, I input the upload middleware from config slash motor and the user model, and then I get this route render from the profile page. First, I check if right here rec.user, and if the user is not authenticated, I redirect them to the login. So if they're not logged in and they try to go to the profile page, it will automatically redirect them to the login. If they are logged in, I render the auth profile EGS view and pass in two things. First is the user rec.user, the user object, so the view can access the user.profile image, and then the display name, rec.user display name, so that navbar can still show welcome and then the name. And then we have the router.post. So this route handles the actual file upload. So I use the upload the single profile image as middleware. The string profile image must match the name attribute of the file input in the HTML form. Motor processes the request, saves the file to disk, and adds request.file with details. Request.files with details about the uploaded file. Inside the try block right here, I load the current user from MongoDB by ID, set user profile image, goes request file name, and then await the user.save. This updates only the profile image file field and keeps all other user information the same. At the end, I redirect the users back to the users slash profile. The query parameter can be used to view to show a success message. If anything goes wrong, the error is logged and simple error message is returned. Now let's go to the front end of our code. So if you go under authentication and profile.egs, here this EGS template is for the profile page. So it includes obviously the shared header, main nav, and footer to even distribute across all pages. I check if the user.profile image exists. If it does, I render an image tag whose source points to upload and slash user.profile image. His matches the static route we configured in app.js and the file name saved by motor. If there is no image, I can show a simple message, no profile image uploaded. The form below, it uses the post method and an ENC type of multi-port form data. This ENC type is required for file uploads. Without it, the file would not be sent correctly to the server. The file input has a name, profile image, which is the same field name in the motor middleware is expecting an upload a single profile image. When the user clicks upload, the form post triggers to users as upload, which we trigger the backend logic we saw earlier. And then lastly, just to make our profile picture look better as other apps do the same, under our CSS, under content, I created a quick CSS configuration. Uh, by adding a small CSS class called the profile-image, I set the width and height size of the avatar. And then the object fit covers center and crops the image nicely so it fills the circle without distortion. And then the border, that's radius, so the 50% makes the image perfectly round. And then I added a thin border to help it stand out visually. This gives the profile page a more polished and modern look. So to quickly, before I wrap up, right here, I added I forgot to say this before, but when I added this file filter, I wanted to demonstrate this to make sure to show that it works. So if you go back to our code, and let's say if you try to upload something that is not a PNG or a JPG file, so this PDF. If you click upload, as you can see, it gives me an error saying only JPG and PNG files is allowed. So obviously you will not be able to upload anything but a JPG and a PNG file as a profile picture. So to wrap up, I implemented the profile picture feature by extending the user model with the profile image field, configuring Motor to store uploaded images in public as uploads with unique file names and accepting only JPG and PNG, serving the uploads folder statically and adding users/profile and users/upload routes to render the profile page and handle uploads, building an EGS file view and CSS styling to display the current picture and allow users to upload a new one. And this completes the profile picture upload requirement for our project. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rashad, and this is my contribution for part 3, the final project. So what I did was my role was to implement the password reset function, which was part 1 of the bonus marks. So let me walk through a demo real quick of how it works. If we go to login, we see that we have a new function here called add forgot password before. So let's say I forgot my password, and then it would ask for the email that's associated with the user. So this is logged into the MongoDB Atlas. So if we go here and check, it's only going to work if it is a existing email. So right here in users, we see that right here we see this email, shardk0527gmail.com. So let's figure out my password. I entered the email, and then it says links into console. So this forgot password is actually mainly meant for the developers. So we open up our console. We see the reset link that was sent, password reset link. Follow that link. Now it asks us to enter a new password. So let's say I enter my new password in, test123. Now it says password successful. You can now log in. So we go back to our login page, and then we go in with the username, which was test123. The update password should now work, and we can see now we are logged in. So let's go ahead and explain how this code works. So I've added three new files here: a reset.js file, a reset.ejs file, and then a forgot.ejs file. So beginning with this reset.js file under our routes, we can see that it handles the entire password reset flow in the application using Express, Crypto, which is a built-in function in Node.js, and the user model. It provides routes for both showing the password reset pages and processing the logic behind them. The /forgot get route simply renders a page where a user can request a password reset link. The /reset/token get route displays a page where the user can enter a new password using the token included in the URL. When someone submits their email through the /forgot post route, the server checks if a user exists with that email. If they do, the system generates a secure reset token using a method in the user model, saves it, and prints a password reset URL to the console as we've seen before. So no matter what, the page re-renders with a message saying the link was sent. The /reset/token post route handles actually resetting the password. It takes the token from the URL, hashes it with the SHA-256, and looks for a user whose stored reset token matches the hash and whose reset token hasn't expired. If the token is invalid or expired, the reset page is re-rendered with an error message. If the token is valid, the user's password is updated using user.setPassword from password-local-mongoose. And so the reset token fields are cleared so the link can be reused. So once you have a new password made, that URL basically it won't work anymore. The user is then saved and shown a success message saying the password is reset, and then we can go back to login. So at the end of the file, the router is exported so the routes can be used by the main app. And then moving on to our forgot.ejs file. This is pretty simple. It's just at the top it includes the shared header, main navigation. We actually had to include this main navigation. Um, oh, never mind, that was something else. Uh, so yeah, we have the main navigation here. Keeps the same layout, and then inside the main container, it displays a simple heading title called forgot password followed by a form. So this is just basic setup. And then it sends a post route to the forgot route, and the form contains a single email input field where the user enters the address associated with their account. So it only works with created accounts. And below it are two buttons: one to submit the form and one uh, and request a reset link, and another to cancel and return to the home page. After the form, the template checks if a message variable was passed in from the server. If a message exists, such as link sent to console, or an error, it displays that message inside a Bootstrap alert box. Finally, the footer is included at the bottom of the page. And it's the same basically with our reset.ejs file. It renders a reset password page, which is displayed after the user clicks the reset link sent to the console. It starts by including the shared header and navigation partials, and then inside the main container, it shows a heading labeled reset password. It includes a form that sends a post request to /reset/token, where the token is inserted dynamically from the server. The form contains one required input field where the user enters their new password, along with two buttons, one again to submit the password and one to complete the reset process. And another to cancel and return to the home page if you don't want to reset. Beneath the form, the page checks whether a message variable was provided by the server, for example, if it was success or if the token was invalid. Or if the user maybe didn't exist, it'll show an error message. So yeah, that is it for my part for the reset.
Well, this is Ramesh Shafiq, and I'll be going over my contributions to Project Part 3. I was in charge of dealing with the front end code and the visuals of the website. One thing that gave me inspiration was the iOS 26 look with the matte glass appearance for the applications and sections of the iOS itself. And so you can see that I've done a dark tint over here for this section of the code. I've done a darker gray and blurry background for this, the sections of getting for bookings and packages. These two buttons over here, and I've done a similar thing with the contact us section of the page. I, however, did not decide to do anything with the actual input sections, as it's easier on the eyes for it to be a white background, and it's also less crowded and a lot more clear with a white background. Um, I did, however, add that theme as well to the footer with a darker tint compared to the section over here, similar to this one, but a little bit lighter. And one thing to keep in mind is I decided to keep the background throughout the entire website to be a fixed image. That way it looks less, there's less motion blur with when you scroll through the page. It's just the sections of the page that's moving. And certain parts of the website themselves have the same background image. For example, the profile and reset page have the same background image. The login, register, and forgot password page have the same background. The packages for the list, add, and edit pages have the same background, and same thing with the bookings. And the home page has the same background as the rest has a default background. Um, some changes were done to this section of the code. We originally had three sections of the code, or three buttons. and each button was meant to be a different package deal. However, we decided to scrap that idea as it made more sense to have two buttons that led to the bookings page and our packages page. One thing to keep in mind, there was some changes done also to the nav bar. Originally, there were no logos within the nav bar, so there wasn't a, beside the home page or get started or contact page, there wasn't any logos. We added these logos to make the website look more professional and to also have a more appealing aesthetic to it. Another issue that we had with the nav bar was text within the nav bar were at different heights for different sections. For example, this specific section of the nav bar would be higher on the nav bar compared to the rest of these sections, which was a little bit more difficult. That was a lot more visually unappealing. And so changes were done to make that the text roll at a fixed height or a fixed position within the nav bar. I'm just going to go through the pages to show you the different aesthetic types. So over here, this is the background for the entire booking section. Um, One thing to keep in mind is the table within the bookings page was we decided to keep it as a white background with black header, just to keep it visually there. A lot of the times when I tried to do the transparent look, it didn't look quite right, and you couldn't really make out the actual details. And so for the practicality of it, we kept it white. And that was the same thing with the packages table. Within the actual adding bookings, um, same thing with what I said before. The labels I decided to keep white to make it so that you can actually see what you're typing in. Um, a lot of the pages will have the text color as white as well because a lot of the background pages is a darker tone. Um, but it'll have a dark shadow around it as well. I'll go over it more in detail within the CSS section. Um, and also editing the page is the same thing. Within the package page is the same idea. Adding a package, again, same idea, same background image as before. Um, and same thing with editing, same background image as before. All meant to keep it, in line with the section of that website. The main reason I decided to do that was to make it less confusing and make it more um, appropriate for the section. If every page had its own background, for me at least, it's made it seem a little bit more confusing on which page you're on, and like which section you're on. And so I decided to just keep the same background for the uh, same packaging and bookings sections of the code. Um, that's also the same for the profile and login and register. So I'll just go over the profile. Profile decided to make it the logo, as I found it to be the most appealing or most appropriate thing for the profile itself. Same thing with the reset page and the login page as well. We'll have this image over here. Register will have the same image, and uh, forgot password. One thing to keep in mind is there was an issue with the code earlier where the footer would be in the middle of the page due to not having enough content within the page. And I'll just go over how I implemented these fixes in the CSS file. So one thing to keep in mind is all of the EJS folder or files have this container wrapper, which has the flex set to 1. This was done in order to keep the footer at the bottom of the page, as a lot of the pages did not have much content in it, and the footer would just remain in the center of the page, which made it very, very unorganized and very messy. Um, Over here, these are general configurations that were display options that were made to allow that allow the page to or for that was done for every page, so that every page would have the footer at the bottom and every section of the page was placed where it needs to be. Over here, this was the section of the nav bar which was changed. So the main thing that was uh, changed was the nav bar logo, like the text line for the nav bar, which was done over here for the line items, and the that allowed the position to be for the text to be at a same height for every for the section of the code. Um, and then if you scroll down, packages, package card over here. Oh, package card, this part right here. So for the package card, the actual background of the card, which is um, this bit right here. Originally, it was just a white background, which didn't really look the greatest, and so I decided to have a background with a lighter gray and a blurry tint to kind of have it look like a piece of matte glass as the background um, for the button, and you'll see that command as well for a lot of the sections of the page. Over here, these are um, the code for the background of the images. So the home page, uh, this was the image that we used for the home page. Um, and for the text within the home page, we set to white to make it seem more visible. And we also added a little box shadow around it, and that was done throughout all the pages. This is basically the same thing through page to page, with the color being text color being white. For the tables themselves, it didn't really look the greatest having a text shadow. So for the tables for the packages and bookings page, I removed the text shadow specifically for those two sections. However, it still follows the same premise all the way down to the register page and forgot page and reset page and profile page. Um, and this is the footer. Over here was the implementation of the background. So we did a very dark background, but with a very light blur to it. And we set the text to be a light or white. That way it could be seen within the um, darker background.